Hi everybody, we're going to talk about notes from 7th grade Common Core lesson 6.3. We're going to be using proportions to solve percent problems, and we're going to be using a percent proportion to do that. A percent proportion talks about the part is the numerator, the denominator is the whole, and that is equal to a percent over 100. So we're looking at the relationship between part and whole. Another way to look at that is the relationship between is over of being equal to percent over 100. So for each of these problems, we're going to go ahead and set up a proportion, and then we're going to solve that proportion using equations like we have in past chapters. So as we go ahead and reread the examples, it's important to be able to go ahead and understand what the question is asking, and then put each number that are given to us into a percent proportion where it appropriately belongs. The 4 close reading strategies is going to be important for these problems because there will be some inferencing that will need to take place. In the first example, it's asking for what percent of 5 is 3. So I'm going to start with my proportion. It's asking for what percent. So I know that it is x, where the percent is. The 100 is always the constant. And then it's talking about what percent of 5 is 3. So the total that I'm looking at is 5. And that part that I'm looking for is the is. So this is the part to whole. What part of 5 is 3. So my proportion is 3 over 5 is equal to x over 100. When I solve that portion, I go ahead and set up an equation that 3 times 100 is equal to 5x. I then go ahead and solve that equation. 300 equals 5x, and I divide both sides by 5. X is equal to 60. So I'm looking for x is equal to 60. That means my percent is 60%. Please make sure that when you're solving the proportion, you go back and ask what the question is, look and see what the question is asking, because if it's asking for a percent, the answer should be a percent. Let's look at example 2. 25 is what percent of 20? Again, I'm looking for the percent, so I know it's x over 100. In this case, it says 25 is what percent out of 20? The part is the 25, and it's out of 20, the total. I then go ahead and set up an equation because 25 times 100 has to equal the same amount as 20 times x. I solve this equation. 2500 equals 20x. I divide both sides by 20. X is equal to, if I get to a point where I don't know the math, I go ahead and just do a timeout, and I go ahead and do the long division on this side. I know that if I divide both by 2, it'll make my life easier. It goes in there 1 time. It goes into 5 2 times. And it goes into 10 5 times. So I know that x is equal to 125. Going back to what the question is asking me, that's 125%. In example 3, I want 10% of 40.5 is what number? I'm looking for the part. They give me the whole or the of. They gave me the percent over 100. I then set up an equation. The cross products are equivalent. 100x equals 10 times 40.5. That's 100x equals 405. I then divide by 100. X is equal to 4.05. Now, I'm looking for the number. 4.05 is 10% of 40.5. In the last example, 1/2 is 25% of what number? I don't know what it's out of. I don't know the of, so that's where the x goes. The 1/2 is my is, and the 25 is my percent. I've set up a proportion, and now I go back and solve it. 1/2 of, or times 100, is equal to 25x. Half of 100 is 50. 50 equals 25x. I divide both sides by 25. X is equal to 2. I now go back and say, all right, I'm looking for out of a number. It's out of 2. Please make sure you're copying down everything I've written down, all of the examples. You also need to remember to please start and stop. If you have questions during this time, you can write them in the margins and be prepared to ask them tomorrow or shoot me an email. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.